Hello! I just wanted to go over some basic functionality of Foundry and the Pathfinder system for those who are new to it. But who knows, maybe there is something to learn from those who are accustomed to it as well. Alright, let's get to it. First things first, basic UI functionality. You can zoom in and out using the scroll wheel. And additionally, you can move around your token by just left click and drag, or you can use WASD to move it as well. And holding down Control, pressing left mouse button will measure out a measure template which you can use to move around as well. By pressing left click again, you can put a waypoint, or by right clicking you can take away those waypoints. If you're satisfied with the measured distance and where you want to go, you can press spacebar to execute that movement. Double clicking on your token will open your character sheet. And if you like to have your character sheet on a different monitor, you can use the pop out feature and it will open up in a separate browser window for you. On the character sheet itself, you will find various tabs for attributes, combat, inventory, features, skills, and so forth. Most of these marked in the blue highlight will be clickable for you to roll certain skill checks like strength, initiative. If you're in combat right now, we cannot click it. Fortitude saving throw, reflex saving throw, and will saving throw, all of those. To use a weapon, you typically don't want to roll the die symbol here, but rather the little sword symbol to make an attack roll. The nifty thing here is you can just right click on your token itself to get these quick actions, and it will also show you the typical distance you have, reach with the weapon, who you can hit with it. And clicking these will pop out the window. You have option between single attack and full attack, and just clicking that will roll the attack roll for you. And normally you would want to just target something before you roll an attack roll. So in this case I'm going to bring in a goblin here. Pressing T while hovering your mouse button over the token will target it. Or you can double right click. It also does the same thing. Pressing T is fairly easy though. And if you do an attack this way, it will, for me as the DM, show you who you're targeting, and I can make a informed decision on what happens when you attack it. So try and remember to target something before you roll your attacks. Another thing you can do in this case, by right clicking your token, you can do basic math to add or subtract hit points to your token. So if you heal 4 hit points, you can click +4, or you can do minus to subtract and the value, and it will subtract the value for your hit points. You can also do the same thing inside of your character sheet here, where it says under health +4 or -4. Your skills. The skills you will have ranks in will typically show up as in the quick list here, and to roll them you just click the die symbol, same thing as most things. Your buffs or debuffs will typically show up in the buffs tab. To activate, you just click active, or the same thing to remove it. Your spells will show up in the spell list, and your cantrips will, you have typically a short list of spells that you want to prepare, but the cantrips will be infinite uses. They will not detract your spell slots when you use them. So just click the sword symbol to use them, and the first level spells, in the case of the wizard, you typically have starting out with 5 or 7 or so spells, depending on how high your int is, and the number you want to prepare is you start with 3 spell slots, and if you want to use grease 1 time per day, you just prepare it in 1, and you still have 2 more spells you can prepare. And you could choose, for example, to then prepare 2 magic missiles, but that will be all the spells you can cast in a day. But it's up to you to choose how many times do you want to prepare each of those spells. So if I prepare magic missile twice, that means I can use it twice per day before I need to rest to get my spell slots back. You can see how it detects, and now it says no spells left for that. Still have 1 use of grease left, which I can use. When you rest back up, you'll get your spell slots back, and you can choose to prepare different spells the next day. Say you can take 3 obscuring mists instead. It says initially prepared, and then the actual prepared amount. So that's pretty much how a prepared caster works. You have a set list of different spells that you know, and a wizard will have a spell book, which he has a list of prepared or known spells, and he can choose to prepare a certain amount of those spells. He can also get a hold of other spell books and prepare spells from that spell book, or he can copy and prepare them into his own spell book. But more on that later. I'm just gonna set this back to 0 so you can choose what spells you want to prepare. In the case of mage armor, I already set it up so it's gonna apply. Sorry for the volume, that was quite loud. In the case of casting mage armor, it's gonna automatically apply for you this buff when you cast it, and it will show up, change the actual values for your, so you go to combat tab. The AC has now gone up with 4, and if we remove, you see it changes back down. So as a wizard, you typically would want to have a mage armor cast on you. It'll last for the entire day, and it's basically a form of armor for you, rather than actually wearing some heavy duty armor that will slow you down and make casting more difficult. So other than that, I think pretty much gone over most features for the character sheet. I'll go over like measure controls. You can, if you want to measure out a area of effect, for example, you can do that using this, and then you can move it around. Say if you were casting fireball or something, and make sure you don't hit yourself or your allies, but you want to include the enemy, you can use something like this. And to remove it, you can hover over the center and click backspace or delete. Another thing for the actual movement I didn't go over is if you move and you regret the movement, rather than trying to remember where I was standing, you can just click Ctrl Z and it'll undo the movement for you. And for general combat, there's a thing most people don't think about. You can actually pop out both the chat log and the combat tab if you wanted to by just right clicking on them. Same thing for the actors directory. So if you wanted to, you can even pop out and have the chat log in a different browser window. Most of these tabs will actually pop out by just right clicking on them. Alright, I think that's it. Oh, one last thing. When we post the combat tracker there, you can click initiative by just rolling with die symbol there. Quick and easy rather than having to go into your character sheet and click on initiative here. Right. See you around. One last feature I actually forgot to include is most of your skills and features you can actually just drag and drop them to your hotbar if you want to have quick access to the stuff. Same with class features. You can access everything from the actual hotbar rather than from your character sheet.